You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Oh, wow.
No, just started this week. Yeah, no, we have that. It's replacing multiple septic systems for trailer fire. And then it's a DES loan. And then after we finish that up, we gotta go to Canton and do a water.
So did you go to the board meeting?
Condominium complex.
Oh, welcome. I guess so. No way, okay.
Gentlemen,
Good morning.
good morning.
Good to
huh?
see you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seems like morning.
Remember Dave Mason?
Dave, good evening all. Good evening.
Okay, so we are waiting for Huntling. I have a message from Jane Wasco that he cannot attend tonight.
Okay.
So this is for us.
I have probably the most important question I'm ever going to ask tonight. What's the password to get in here? Get
The
online.
town hall, I think it's unsecured.
It's what?
It's unsecured.
All right.
Uh,
We'll try it.
This is not Boston. We don't, the only people out here trying to steal Wi-Fi are the Moose.
Well, I mean, I'll pay for it. I mean, you mean I'm not paying enough in taxes for this place?
You are paying enough in taxes, that's why you don't have to pay for it.
So, and actually quite, sometimes you can get the library, but there should be a Wi-Fi signal called Jackson.
How you doing?
I didn't bring my,
You probably saw my picture in the post office. Yeah,
Yeah, you were around the way when we both went, right?
I was doing going up.
Okay,
Rhode
I've got
Island?
video
Rhode
and that's where we're
Island?
going.
Yeah, no.
No, you never practiced in Rhode
got to
Island?
bring my pen.
No, I never been to Rhode
I
Island.
can get a picture for you.
I'm down that
In
road.
fact,
Norm.
I think Peter can
Hi.
kind of make a pad.
I was a Rhode Island lawyer for 40 years, your name's familiar.
You were a Rhode Island lawyer for 40 years?
That's
You
fresh.
live up here now?
Yeah.
Oh, where, Ian Jackson?
I'm gonna try very hard to put this
You
shirt.
in a butter, did he throw?
Oh, no, but I'm up the road, and I have an interest in
Oh,
the
okay.
issue, so to speak.
Okay, Wi-Fi tax.
So you were never in Rhode Island? There was another guy, you
So,
were.
No.
Yes.
Greg
Frank, it's Jackson Public, right?
Huh?
I think so, this should be the old password.
Guy.
All right, connect
Of
on
course.
Get a password.
Just like that.
Hit the one above the system.
Okay?
Norm.
Yes, Norm.
Get a password.
It's one of those things you don't really see until it's like, oh. Stay there.
I'm not.
Well, the problem is once you connect once, does that change this one here?
No, I'm like
Unsecured.
above there.
Okay.
You should work on it.
Automatically.
That's the library, but you're close enough that it's a fairly good signal.
All right, I'm open.
Yeah.
I'm connected.
It's
Just
like
pass.
5 minutes. No, it's all the same.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
There's something.
Mr. Burrow. Here I have a document for you. Yes, I think you may have been copied an email that I received today, which Mr. Edward provided.
Copy about half of it, but that's okay.
One extra, sure.
I'm done. Sorry.
That's, those are our citizens and stuff.
It's all the online version. I'll figure it out. Good, thanks. I actually printed it out probably after. Alright. Plan. One more.
I'm gonna give you this. Give it to you.
Oh, okay, I probably got the same thing here, that I printed out.
But so did the.
I'm down there.
How you doing there?
Yeah, I just made copies.
Sure, okay, yep.
Good, appreciate it.
Old school. Like.
There you go. Good to
It's
reference
easier
everything.
to look at them.
Well, it is.
At least for my generation.
Well, me too, because they put all the report and all that.
Oh,
statutes and
Oh, yeah, yeah, something.
because if you don't find what you want, you print out the right stuff, and these are the books. And you are,
I'm the building inspector, health officer, yeah.
thank you.
Very clear. Good. I think it's
See McNeil across from my property, he's moving some rocks around.
Is he?
Yes, I don't know what he's doing.
Okay.
They chopped a big tree, mostly it was,
Yep, and I put some giant headers in the structural ridge, which is ridiculous, but whatever.
I'm just concerned with this.
Oh, I know you're saying.
Big rock,
Yeah.
you know, that sucker's not serious.
I agree. I think the last thing was that they were waiting for something to small from the septic system. And once you fix that, then you'll get into the other way. So I don't know. This is the first time I've seen her in a couple of weeks, so
Yeah.
that's what I think the holdup was. I'm sure he wants to get his machine out of there and say, listen.
Yeah.
Said I got EMT stuff to do.
Right.
No.
Huh?
All kinds of medications. That one by heart. I can't pronounce it this year.
Do you see that?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's how to spell it. I think it is.
Recording in progress.
What did I do?
Recording in progress.
Jim must be still doing it then.
We're waiting for the rest of the board. Oh, Hunter, you're here. Okay. Well, it's 7:30. I will call the hearing to order. My name is Frank Benish. I am the chairman of the ZBA. To my left is Dave Mason, Peter McGlynn, and Huntley Allen. James Wasco, the fifth member, cannot attend today. So I will open the hearing and then begin by saying, since there's only 4 members present and an affirmative action granting the appeal requires a vote of 3, I will give you the appellants the opportunity to postpone, should they so wish, to a date that may be some time from now. But you should, as you know, I mean, it takes 3 votes, so you now still have 3L5, 3L4. James is unfortunately detained from returning from Michigan.
Okay, could I have a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it would be delayed, yeah, I don't know. My vote's good. Okay?
Yeah.
We really want to move this project and resolve it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Understand.
Thank you.
Okay, open the hearing, I'll begin by saying that this was publicly noticed on the town bulletin boards, in the Conway Daily Sun, and also by certified mail. In terms of the receipts, we got receipts from everybody, including the appellants, green cards that is, but we did not receive a acknowledgement from Edward S. and Judith May at 543 High Meadows Road in East Burke, Vermont. They are one of the abutters. But they did have a mail sent to them. And of course, I have your mail if you like it, but you've probably seen it, what's inside it anyway. I'm going to start by saying that this is, there's a lot to this case, of which my view is that the ZBA is a relatively minor part. We're here tonight to only decide whether or not the zoning ordinance was violated, and if so, is the finding by the select board appropriate? We probably don't have to decide a lot of other things, including the cause of the flooding of the property downhill, the Goodine property, as well as a number of other related issues. I am going to try very hard to keep this hearing focused on the issues that bear on the ZBA's decision of whether or not the zoning ordinance was violated. And I ask for your cooperation. I'm also going to start by explaining what my personal view, since I've not talked to the board, about the town's, let me say, theory of what happened. And then I'm going to ask for, and let me stop for a second. Normally I would open with the appellant's chance, give the appellants an opportunity to first state the basis for their appeal. But I think, given this case, it's worth a diversion to first make sure we all understand the town's thesis on what happened. My impression is the town makes note of the town-approved septic plan, which required a culvert or swale to direct outflow from the town culvert, road culvert, extending along the southern property line for about 60 feet from the eastern property line, and then terminating in a stone pit to lessen the impact on adjoining lots of water. The stone pit was to be located at about the middle of the southern property line. The approved septic plan also incorporated section 4.16 of the zoning ordinance. And the approved septic plan contained the notation, do not change the stormwater discharge direction from the property unless written permission is granted from those involved. The town discovered, I think in May of 2025, with Kevin Bennett and Burr Phillips visiting the property, that the road culvert discharge had been relocated from the middle of the lot to the south side of the lot, just above the Goodines home, and had changed from being spread out to a concentrated discharge. I believe the town's view is that these changes in the drainage and the septic plan, eliminating the stone pit, which was intended to lessen the impact on abutment lots, to a concentrated discharge, violated 4.16 of the ordinance, as the built culvert and the deviation from the approved plan was no longer designed and built reasonably to prevent increased rate of runoff, soil loss, or erosion. Regardless of whether one applies the 2015 version of section 4.16 or the 2025 version, since they're nearly the same. So the failure to construct the drainage as specified in the septic plan is sufficient to make a finding of violation of the zoning ordinance, which requires that 4.16 requires, let me find it, any site disturbance, land development, or activities that alter water courses shall be designed and performed reasonably to prevent the increased rate of runoff, soil loss, or erosion from the site or lot. I think the deviation from the approved plan, approved by the civil engineer, is, in the town's view, evidence of violation of that portion of the ordinance. And I'm going to stop there, because this is what I ascertained from my review of the file, and I'm going to ask for Phillips, the town engineer, to comment on what I said or how he may wish to correct it. But I'm basically trying to tie the events to a specific clause in the zoning ordinance. So,
Yeah.
Burr, how's that sound?
I think you're on exactly the same page that I'm on. It's that 4.1.6 where we're not supposed to divert water or increase flow to people's property downstream of it, and that was
Could you just raise your voice a
Yes.
little bit?
Sure,
Thanks.
Sir, I
Well,
guess
come up,
I
whatever-
I just wanted to
whatever's
say that
convenient.
I'm 100% on the same page, Frank. That 4.1.6 is what says not to increase the flow, basically to, on an abutter's property, increase the runoff onto a abutter's property. And that was done because the original situation, which probably the only people that are aware of the original situation is probably the contractor and myself, and maybe someone from the road crew, but I make a site visit before I approve the septic system designs. And the town culvert came out, ends where it does now, they didn't alter the town's culvert. Their first plan showed it actually attaching onto the culvert, and I had said, no, you can't do that because we wanna keep private and town culvert separate. So they left a little gap and extended it, and I had specifically added that note to the approval, because our approval says for compliance with zoning, which site disturbance is in there. I specifically added that note in there to give the heads up, because I could sort of see a problem coming with if that water was channelized to somebody else's property. It could happen anywhere. And that's sort of
Okay.
that's what's happened, from my opinion, is that has been moved, so.
Okay, so-
4.1.6 is exactly where I'm on the same page.
Okay, so, and, in making that analysis, I'm not making any assessment of whether or not the design and the stone pit that wasn't built would have been effective or not in mitigating whatever happened. Nor am I suggesting, I think it's enough for the town to determine that the septic plan was not built as designed is sufficient, regardless of whatever happened with water flow or the water that may or may not have come off the lot to the Goodine property, or may not have come off the property uphill from the McNeils. So those are issues that may well be litigated, and I don't think for tonight we have to get to that. But at this point, unless Burr wants to correct something I said, I'm going to give I don't know what's happening. Let me put this on mute. I'm sorry. I thought I was mute. Well, I'll turn the volume down. I'm sorry. I am technologically challenged here.
What is that?
So I think with that, I will, and in saying this, I also have not kind of addressed the issue of notice to the Goodines. But at this point, since I think that this will hopefully narrow the conversation tonight on what the town is claiming happened, to allow the appeal and for the discussion to be more narrowly focused. Would anybody like to add or distract anything I said, or?
Well, I think that we should hear from the McNeil's
I agree.
attorney, and I would also think that he may want to examine Mr. Phillips, but your choice, but I think that's,
Okay.
I'd like to hear from the McNeil's counsel.
Yes, so do I. I think that's the next step. And normally that would be the first step. I thought it'd be helpful to,
It was, and I agree.
okay. And I'm not, so at this point, I think the appellants have the floor and can present their case, and we will listen.
Okay, thank you. My word speaking here. Am I okay speaking here?
Yes, you are. Just speak up.
we have submitted a lot of exhibits and 2 memos, plus what I call a proposed order for tonight. So I'm not gonna rehash all of those issues. From what you said, it looks like you want to narrow a lot of the things I wanted to say, because I think it's important to distinguish 2 things. One is the flooding of this lady's property, so-called, and 2 is the violation of the ordinance. I don't think there's any question that a lot of water flowed down her property. Exactly how that happened and where it came from and whose water it is up for grabs. Because most of the water that probably flowed on her property was not, quote-unquote, the McNeil's water. There's a place across the street, all of you are, I assume, are familiar with the site on the ground. There's a lot of clear cutting or cutting up above. And apparently the history of the McNeil lot is that it was a bad lot to build on in the first place. Did I do that?
I did that. Try to make the people who were listening in
Okay.
be able to hear it.
That's a bad, it's allegedly a bad lot. I've heard rumors that somebody else owned it prior and they had a septic design, then they gave it up and sold it. At any rate, it apparently is a place where all the water flowed over traditionally long before there was a building. So some question as to whether or not it should have been built on in the first place, but that's another issue. So at any rate, when the house was put up, if you had to divert it to that so-called culvert, so it wouldn't flow where the house is. At any rate,
It's just a is that, I'm looking at the septic plan, would that be the southwestern side of the house, Council?
I think
Yeah.
so.
I've got the plan here, but
Yeah,
I think that's
Yeah.
north, so that's south.
the so-called existing culvert, which is also known as the town culvert, is there now. The clear cutting is up above on this side of the road. And just to digress a second, because this is one other explanation of the water. There's a ditch that runs down this side of the road. However, for some reason, somebody at some point blocked, there's a blockage. It's built up right here on the other side of that culvert. So the water can't go down that ditch. Now, if you walk down that road, there's a big giant house down there, and I guess they're building one across the street. But it flows down there to this area over here, which is, what do you call that? It's like, you can't build on it.
Oh, conservation.
Conservation. And this huge area down there. So when they blocked that ditch, somebody long time ago, blocked that ditch. All the water from this hill that's clear cut had to run in the culvert. It comes down this ditch, hits the culvert, because it can't go down here, where it's designed to go. Went over here. This is the line. This is where the plan showed this culvert ending in the middle of the lawn.
Actually, I think it was a little bit further south.
Yeah, somewhere
There's a
here.
circle down there.
Right
It's
down
supposed
there.
to be the
With
plan.
it.
Right down there.
Tom, the guy who did it, probably can tell us.
But it's right down there,
Yeah,
about 10 feet south of the
Okay.
map.
and it's supposed to end right there in the middle of the lawn with a pit.
Yes,
Okay, yeah, that's true. But if you do that, and you have a torrential rain, which apparently that caused this flood, the pit might fill up, and it might flow down there anyway. We don't know for sure. But at any rate, Tom extended it down to there. Okay. That's.
So is Tom the?
Tom is this gentleman here, and he actually did the work. I can't remember your last name.
Rozak.
Rozak. He actually did the work. Okay. So that's what happened. Now, to correct it, and maybe you don't wanna get into that, but we're interested in solving it and correcting it. You might unblock that ditch, so a lot of the water will go down there where it's supposed to.
I suspect that was intentional.
That
It's a
was
water
the way
bar
it was built.
to prevent too much water going downhill and overwhelming.
But
So
it-
you
now-
always have these water bars diverting some of the
But
water.
now it doesn't allow any to go down there, and it has to go through the culvert.
Well, it allows everything beyond that to go down there. So
Well, it's,
they're managing the amount of flow that goes down the ditch.
obviously, you guys are more familiar with it than I am, but at any rate, there might be one possible solution to let more go down there. Okay. So when the water runs down here, hits the culvert, it goes across McNeil's property and then down to that lady's property.
Yeah.
So it's not all McNeil's water.
Doesn't matter.
Well,
just so I understand it,
There's
Council,
no
what
pit.
you're
Huh?
saying,
There's no pit.
correct, there is no pit, we agree.
but you're saying that there is excess water that it flows across the lawn?
Well, Tom can speak to that a lot better than I can. Alls I know is that if you put that pit in there, obviously that's designed to collect all the water from the culvert. Now, for some mysterious reason, I'm not an engineer, some mysterious reason, the culvert, existing so-called town culvert, cannot or should not, or does not physically connect to our culvert. The water is, as my memo says, supposed to find its way over to the other culvert
Right.
somehow. At any rate,
Well, it's-
that's the assumption, it's gonna go over to the other culvert.
They kiss each other, so.
I
it's
guess
pretty
it
obvious.
knows that, I don't know.
Yeah.
At any rate, so, one of the questions I have is, or we have, is that, okay, is it reasonable to have the McNeils be the repository of all the flowing water from over across the street and everywhere else,
You have your chance, bro.
and end up with all the water?
Yes.
That's the way it was designed and that's the way it was approved, and we agree with that. But you gotta think about that, because why should they be the collector of all the water? Because actually, in the old days, before anything was built, it did go down that way. It did go down further.
Oh, it went differently, but
Well, it does, yes,
Burke
it
and the
did,
rest.
but it didn't stay on McNeil's property.
No.
So now forces it to stay on McNeil's property. So what you're saying is, okay, you gotta keep all the water. Okay, that's one of our arguments, at any rate.
Okay, you'll
Can
have
I-
your chance, bro. You'll have your chance. to-
Okay, sure, all right.
Okay.
I just want to be able to
Counsel,
understand what he was.
Can I ask a couple of quick questions?
Yes, sir.
By the way, I found your materials quite helpful.
Quite what?
Quite helpful.
Oh, thank you. I thought you said awful.
Well, you know,
I apologize for the duplication, because there is some of that duplication. But I apologize because it takes a little too adversarial tone than we meant to convey at this hearing. We are here to solve this problem, our portion of it.
so just so I understand what, I'm trying to read all the file, and I read all your exhibits. Was the as-built culvert and pit, was it built consistent with the septic plan?
I had to defer to my expert,
All right.
Tom, if that's all right with you.
Okay, sure, that's,
Tom,
Yeah.
come on up here. 'Cause
I don't know, Tom.
how are you?
Tom is the,
Peter McClung.
Nice to meet you. Tom.
Tom?
Nice to meet you.
Tom.
Tom.
All right, Frank Benish.
so he can speak to that stuff.
So, yeah, so, bear with, it has been a while since I've seen it. So, yeah, where that stone pit is, we extended the culvert down to basically meet the, I don't know, like the compass direction of this, but the back corner of the property down here.
Right.
The issue, that whole site is nothing but clay and ledge. And I was talking with the general contractor of this project when we were doing the site work of everything, that the absorption of any groundwater coming down through there, I said, if we put this culvert into a stone pit, basically a blind hole, which, we do contracted jobs all over the place with stormwater infiltration and everything. And there always has to be some sort of outfeed for the culvert. You can't just blindly end it in a stone pit and just cover it over. Because, animals go down there, leaves go down, branches, everything. Plug it up, that's one issue. But back to the point of clay, ledge and everything else. So the excess amount of ground, the site, road water, everything, it's pretty impressive when you think about it, that it's made it well over 500 feet down an embankment, and just the volume of water that's carried on down through there. So, if we had directed everything into a stone pit, speculation, who knows what.
Then the system should have been redesigned, right? Because it wasn't designed properly, evidently, in your opinion, for the soil conditions and the amount of water that had to be carried, et cetera. So
For the septic?
yeah.
Well, the septic,
For the thing we're talking about.
Oh,
which is the
yeah.
For the culvert.
So that needed to be, it needed to be something done to address that in the plan.
Well, that's kind of where I was going. So I don't know, I don't know you, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Are you like a certified sediment control professional?
No, I'm just a licensed septic installer, excavator, contractor.
Well, are you licensed by the state or the town to design septic systems?
No.
All right, so what you did is you exercised your judgment and you relocated the culvert and actually no pit. It just, the culvert just kind of, or the.
Well, I wouldn't say there's not no pit, because where it ends, where the outfeed is down here, we've extended with erosion stone. We put probably an additional 6 feet worth of erosion stone.
But it's steep. I didn't want to walk down it.
Oh, it's very
so steep.
Oh yeah, it's very
So
steep.
when the water comes out of there, it's not going anywhere but down the hill,
Yep.
like a waterfall.
Mhm.
So
Let me just go back and I'll close this out, at least as far as my questions. All right, so there was a change from the approved, and that's an approved plan,
Yep.
right?
Well,
It-
when I put it in for state.
Let him finish.
Oh, sorry.
All right, well, that's okay, look.
No, I was just saying, when I put it in
No,
for state
I get-
inspection to have the
I
inspector.
get interrupted
come
at
out,
home all the time,
and
so
it
this
was-
is.
It
this
was,
is right.
everything was how you see it now.
All right, but my point is, this was a stamped plan, all right? And this was part of the McNeil's application for a building permit, right?
Mhm.
And have you pulled permits in your career?
I'm not a general contractor by
Okay,
any
all right,
means.
but you've seen them, you're right, So you know that's, when you get that building permit approved, it's approved as per whatever the plan is that's attached to the application. And this was the plan that was attached to the application. So there was a change, correct?
Yep.
And did you discuss the change with anybody, such as, for example, the McNeils?
I never spoke with the McNeils prior to. I was hired by the general contractor to do the site work.
All right, and did you discuss this change with the GC?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He agreed with what we talked about, and like I said,
All right, let me just finish. But to your knowledge, nobody ever went back to the town and said, we need to have a change order, we need to amend the building permit and the plan, right?
No. Or the
Yeah,
septic plan.
but you just did what you thought you should be done, but it was the general contractor who hired you,
yeah,
correct?
correct.
And whatever changes that were needed, those were gonna be, so far as you know, the responsibility of the GC, right?
Correct.
Okay.
could I just ask, did you say that the plan you submitted to the state was different than this plan?
No, how everything was up there with the culvert being extended down to the end of the house.
Right.
Because once we put a system in, I gotta put it in for state inspection for the state
I see.
inspector. to
Okay,
come.
so
That-
with
He had seen it just how, you guys see it up there
Right,
now.
okay.
So I guess that's one of our major points, is that the town and the state, I'm using words for the record, acquiesced or with the way it is on the ground now.
How can you in what manner did the town acquiesce?
Well, maybe the town
Tom.
can address that, but,
I mean, the town, I'm not sure, I don't believe the town inspected the
I don't know.
septic system
I don't know that for sure.
as built.
Yeah.
We will find out.
Okay.
And, well,
Well, our exhibits show the state inspections. I don't know about the town, but our exhibits do show the state approval. So I guess that's in a nutshell what our case is, that, yes, we agree. It's not as approved, it's extended.
Right.
Okay, the question comes, even if you had done the pit, would it,
It might not, but then it would be not a question of you didn't follow the plan.
that's why I made the distinction that there's a difference between the flooding and the violation of the ordinance.
Right.
Just-
Exactly.
Just going back to your, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Alan.
No, I'm done.
So you talk about the doctrine of acquiescence in municipal estoppel. So what, you're familiar, I'm sure, with the elements that you're required to prove in order to prove municipal estoppel,
Well,
right? I mean,
to some degree.
it's
but-
the Bozzanetto case.
Right,
And there are 4 elements. And one is you have to show that there has been a misrepresentation of fact by the town.
well, we're not saying that, we're not saying
No,
that.
that's
I
one of-
I don't wanna say that, I
Okay.
don't wanna say that. What I wanna say is the state did approve it, yes.
All right. But but it's, we're not the state, so if
Right.
estoppel applies, it applies here. And I just want to see whether or not, I mean, I'll tell you what the 4 elements are under Cardinal Development Corp. Versus Town of Winchester ZBA. A representation of concealment of a material fact was made by the town and the town had knowledge of that fact. Do you have any evidence that there was a representation or concealment of a material fact
By the town,
of Jackson?
no, by the town.
All right, that's element number 1. And that the petitioner, your clients, were unaware of the truth of the matter. Are you claiming that?
Well, we're not claiming that the town acquiesced or stopped it or any of that. What we're saying more correctly is that the state approved of it. And the reason we're saying that is and the reason we're advancing the position that he extended the culvert is because that's the best way it could have worked on this land.
But did the state approve that change?
I believe they did.
well, I don't,
The state wasn't looking at a change, they were looking at the thing submitted, and they said, yeah, okay, that's what it is. They didn't say that, oh, you've gotta do this because the land won't absorb the water. That's what they decided to do, the contractors, and they did it. They thought that was best. It turns out it's not best.
Well,
And
that's-
it turns out that because they didn't follow the plan or redesign the plan and resubmit it.
well, we'll get to that, Dave, we'll get to that. Let me, at this point, are you, for now, this initial phase, are you done, or do you have?
Pardon me?
All right, at this point, are you done at this point? You'll have another chance.
Well, I would like to address, if I could, the solutions. Is that appropriate?
The solution, I think the issue before this board is whether or not the zoning ordinance is violated, and if the fine is proper. We are not going to, it's beyond our jurisdiction to discuss how this might be remediated, who's at fault, what caused the flooding, all other things. This is just whether or not the zoning ordinance was violated and the fine was proper. And everything else is maybe up to the selectmen or other elements of the town or civil litigation. I mean, we have a very narrow charter here. So I will give you an opportunity to rebut what you hear next, but I think the next step would be to hear from further clarification from Burr Phillips on, and I have some questions for Burr as well, about the town's position. And then you'll have a chance to rebut that.
That's fine, thank you, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Great. So, Burr, it probably more helpful if you come up a little bit so we can get your voice.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll defer to anybody else on the board who has questions of you. I do have some at the end though.
Sure.
Listen, gentlemen.
You know, I just, my own question is, because the state approved about the septic system, but that's got nothing to, in my mind, nothing to do with the culvert and the drainage. And I thought,
The state won't approve a septic system until the town approves it. So the town approved
septic,
it.
but that's got nothing to do with the culvert, does it?
Yeah, yes, it does. That's in the,
That was part of the
it was
plan.
part of the septic plan that the town approved, that you're looking at on Peter's laptop.
Can I clarify just for a
Yeah,
second?
go ahead.
Yeah, so you're both right. I think you're both right.
Of course.
So the intent of that culvert, there being a culvert there, them adding the culvert, is to provide separation to the leach field. Because the setback to a culvert is only like 35 feet, and if they kept the ditch that was going out to the lot, that's a 75 feet. So they would have no place to put the septic system in. So the state only wanted to see the culvert. Now, this was the designer's choice, but not me, but the designer's choice was to put a culvert in there to shorten that distance, and that gave them more space to put the septic system in. The state could care less about whether there's a pit at the end of it or anything. They're just looking to see if the end of that culvert is at least 35 feet from the end of the leach field. So the whole thing of whether the state approved the as-built or not, all they were concerned about was where the end of the culvert was, and they didn't care where the water was going. That's just totally not in their, not in their purview or their jurisdiction, what they review there.
And also, because you're on the side of a mountain, and once you divert water, it's going to change something downhill. And this is just in my mind, simple thinking. But in my mind, water should have gone where it had been going for years, on the other side of the lot, and then it would not have affected the Goodine property below it. And by diverting that water, no matter where the water came from, it had been going across that lot for years. By diverting that water, that washed out her septic system.
But, good point, but do we even have the authority to look beyond somebody that's much smarter certainly than I am and much more knowledgeable of these things, beyond the stamped septic plan? That's the plan that was approved.
No, that's the whole.
I don't think so.
Well, I guess I just wanted to clarify that the zoning ordinance, which was put on the designer, put the 3 bullets from the older ordinance on the plan.
The pre-March 2025
And the requirements
amendment.
on there specifies the requirements to design a thing. This, I'm not saying, it's not Tom's responsibility to do, the contractor's responsibility to do this, but it was responsible for somebody, one of the owner's representatives, to get somebody qualified to come up with the design to make that work. And just so you know, originally that pipe came out, and then there was a ditch that went out toward the middle of the lot, and then it spun out sideways. So when I was there, initially the sediment that comes off the road, winter sand and stuff, you could see fall down that ditch and spun out. But the way it turned sideways, it kind of sheeted all that runoff across the land. And then you couldn't see any evidence when I was there of like channels or anything down below where the pipe came out. But what they have done is move it all to one spot with one point, and so it's in a new location, and now it's this concentrated channel, and so when I observed it, I think I sent you pictures, or somebody sent pictures of it, the water clearly just comes
And there's-
straight
there
out
is
of
no-
the pipe and goes straight
There's
down.
no pit with Marathi
And I'm not
fabric.
sure, and I will be honest in saying, I'm not sure that pit would have worked by itself, but the ordinance specifically says you have to have a design there. And again, you have to keep in mind, the intent of this plan itself is primarily, it's just a septic system design. It's not specifically the site, the erosion control or site historical plan. But the zoning ordinance, which it says on the plan, says you've got to comply with these requirements and have it designed and make sure you're not going to cause the problems.
that's
And
somebody's-
that's what got missed.
Somebody's
somewhere in there.
attempt to do that,
Right.
saying, well, this'll work.
Right.
I mean, they could have done a pond, that
Right.
might have been better, but there's probably not room there to do a pond.
I mean, if they go to the guidelines, which are the same guidelines that exist today, they specifically say that for out of this much impact, and certainly this is we pointed out how critical this is too, but for this amount of impact, you really need to have a professional CPAS, certified professional erosion control, or an engineer or somebody figure this out for you. And it appears that that part didn't happen.
Okay, anybody else have questions? I have a question.
Just one to council. And that,
Well,
it,
he'll have a chance
oh,
to
you
respond.
want, you want to
Okay,
talk
this is
about
for Burr.
Phillips? All right, fine.
Sorry.
Then I have nothing further with respect
Okay,
to Mr.
Burr,
Phillips.
so I think your theory on why this is a violation of the zoning ordinance hasn't really, it still stands, as I stated it. I have, I guess, a couple of questions. One, was there any, from you, and Kevin can speak up if not, was there any written communication to the McNeils or the contractors of the violation before the selectmen sent their letter?
Written?
Written.
No. Not from my perspective anyway. I don't know if it was for
Okay.
Kevin or anybody else.
Okay, then, and number two, have you discussed any kind of, from a ZBA perspective, one, remediation could be simply to rebuild it with the pit that you specified.
I didn't specify.
Oh, that was the,
That was the
Septic
septic
design.
designer who's
Yeah.
probably.
okay,
really
but
not
you
qualified.
approved it as
Yeah,
as a reasonable
primarily-
attempt.
Sort of.
So that's one solution, is to build it back to as designed. Have there been any discussions about how else this might be remediated, to your knowledge?
I guess there were some general discussions when Kevin and Tom and I met at the site. There were some discussions at the site. I guess
But
the one thing that's not represented also on the plan is that the grading of the site, whole site, is much different than represented on that plan. So like behind the house, there's like a steep slope,
Yes.
filled and steep slope that doesn't represent on that. So
I appreciate that.
presumably, I mean, if we're redesigning it, and that's not my responsibility to design for them, but I would have put a level spreader sheet over to that thing, and spread it out. But given how short a distance it is to the property line now, there's just no space for it to really spread out. It's gonna probably bother one abutter or the other. So I think they're probably gonna have to go to a abutter downstream and say, okay, can we redo the ditch to
Okay, so
the
this-
property or something along those lines.
Okay, so,
There's potential solutions there, and we're glad to help out where we can. That's the whole goal, is just get this fixed, the problem fixed, but
okay, nothing
that's sort of
nothing
outside
firmly
of this.
advanced.
What's that?
Nothing that's really been discussed in any detail or suggested that you're aware of. Okay, that's, those are the only two questions I had. And Kevin, this is kind of, do you have anything to add at this point?
I mean, the only thing I think that I can add, I think when this was all going on, and it was actually into the fall of 2024, we knew we had issues, other issues in town with water issues, and that's why we started to try to act a site disturbance, like document that people had filled out.
Yep.
So anyway, this was all happening, so, you know, we recognized issues that weren't addressed on, you know, septic plans, and site disturbance stuff, so, but that's just, you know, that's something.
I'll add 20 seconds onto that. I think we met at the site with Tom. My impression was Tom was not aware of the town's erosion control requirements and those requirements specified on the plan. So as Kevin said, we have now created this notice of intent. It requires the contractor to sign to say that they are aware of it, that provides the wordings there. So hopefully going forward, it'll make it easier for contractors and other people to say, okay, whoops, I didn't realize that occurred, that we've got something that helps them out a little bit.
Okay. Thank you. You have an opportunity now to rebut or
Could I-
add. Oh, go ahead.
Just add one question of Kevin?
Yes.
And I think I'm not sure whether your estoppel argument is still viable or not, but when you sign off on the certificate of occupancy,
Yes, yeah.
you're only signing off that the structure complies with the applicable codes, right?
On making sure that the state did a certificate to operate the septic system too. So that I make sure that's in place.
Right, but you're not signing.
So I'm just signing off on basically the structure. Yeah.
The structure as in
Make sure they
the
have-
home.
Make sure they have operating toilets and sinks and.
Right, you're not signing off on the viability of the culvert and pit arrangement, correct?
No, I'm not.
Thank you.
I think it's just good to note that there's nothing in the town's regulations that requires a review of the site disturbance plan by the town, but it does require them to put a plan together. And the planning board, when this was adopted, they just didn't want to be that heavy-handed and create this more bureaucracy.
Are you talking about the 2024 version or 2025?
Both of them.
Okay.
The town never wants to be
I
heavy-handed.
know. Go ahead,
Thank
your
you.
floor.
That's why we would like to focus in on a solution, a fix. And you kind of brought it up, Sue. And Jason Dennis's letter does suggest one. I don't understand it, but it does suggest it. I'm given to understand Tom has a couple of possibilities also. One of the difficulties we've had in this situation since we got the notice was that we tried to get an answer from the town as to whether or not the old ordinance or the new ordinance applied. We never really did get them to commit, but I think it's pretty clear it's the old one. And as Bert says, maybe it doesn't make any difference. There's more paperwork to the new one, but the theory behind both of them, I think, is pretty similar. But
Well, I'm going to stop you in the interest of economy of time. I don't think what the remedies are, if any, are something we can consider.
But may I?
Go ahead, yes, please.
You
be brief.
did talk about remedial things with Mr. Phillips.
I just wanted to find out whether or not the town had done anything.
Okay, so that's why our ask is, I think you do have this authority. Our ask is that you adjourn this meeting, which I think you have the power to do, and to give Tom and these gentlemen time, like tomorrow, to meet and explore the various possibilities. I'm given to understand that there's the original plan with the pit, yeah, okay. Run something back along the top of her property, her being Mrs. Goodwin's, or another channel to the left. All of these are possibilities that Tom has explored, and just give us a little time to work that
Well,
out.
I think you're overstating our power here. All we can do is decide whether or not the select board and Kevin and Burr properly interpreted the zoning ordinance, and whether or not select board was proper in how they assessed the fine. The solution to this is up to the town and the select board and Burr and Kevin, all that throw in. And of course, the McNeils. And it's probably up to the McNeil, and the Goodines, possibly, if that was you speaking up.
Yes.
But we don't have the power to do that. All we have the power to do is say, yes or no, this was a violation of zoning ordinance. Yes or no, the fine is due. And then it's up to the town and the Goodines, and the McNeils, and with kind of the visibility to the front of the gutters, to decide how this has to be remediated. We don't have the ability to dictate to the select board or the town what the solution to this is.
I understand that, but we would like very much to meet with the town, and we seem,
Well, I think you'll have the opportunity to meet with the town.
well, can you fellows meet with him tomorrow?
Well, I mean, but,
That's what I-
sir,
Now,
I think this is, I would very much like to conclude the ZBA's role in this
okay,
tonight.
okay.
Because I think we probably have enough facts to decide on the issues we have to decide. And whether or not there is a solution that everybody can sign off on is not something that should be before us.
I understand. That's our ask, is that we-
Okay, well, I think the board will consider that.
Okay, thank you. Could I have 2 minutes to talk to my clients to make sure they didn't want to bring up anything on?
Sure. Yeah.
No, it sounds like, we're gonna go from this to the next one.
Copy which Kenny
Oh, yeah.
every day?
Yeah, about 5 days.
We have completed our,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, I am going to, without objection from the board, I'm going to close the hearing and move to deliberations. And I actually have things of what I would consider statements of fact and so forth. I think we've talked a lot about what happened with the septic, as-built septic plan was not according to plan, and that the town has a theory that I think I find acceptable, that violated the zoning ordinance. I think we also have to consider whether or not the notice given the town to the McNeils was sufficiently detailed to represent proper notice.
That hasn't been alleged by anybody.
I know.
So how do we find something that nobody has said that's a problem? I mean, that's like, we're gonna tell a selectman, oh, you did it right, or you didn't do it right.
I'm sorry if you want to share that with
Oh, I'm
everybody.
sorry. That hasn't, nobody has said, I noticed wasn't sufficient, or wasn't proper, so I'm saying, why, where do we get the authority to decide how the notice, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Have you read this case?
Yeah, but this,
You might want to read
No,
it.
no, I
That's
haven't read it.
Same issue for
Does
the
that,
bike
does that
on.
say
Goes-
that even if somebody's happy with it, we still have to look at it?
I think so.
Okay, well, if you think so, you're the attorney.
And
50 years.
so, I'm going to propose, I think, 3 or 4 facts that I've already talked about. I'll read them. I wasn't able to print this off in multiple copies because my printer died, but basically the town and state approved septic plan included a culvert or swale to direct outflow of the road culvert extending along the southern property line for 60 feet to the eastern property line and then terminating in the stone pit to lessen impact on abutting lots. That's straight from the septic plan. The stone pit was to be located about the middle of the southern property line, so that's about near the front of their house, about 10 feet beyond the front of their house. The approved septic plan incorporated section 4.16 of the zoning ordinance, which read, any site disturbance, land development, or activities that alter the water courses shall be designed and performed reasonably to prevent increased rate of runoff, soil loss, or erosion from the site or lot. And then the approved septic plan also contained a notation, do not change the stormwater discharge direction from the property unless written permission is granted from those impacted. And then the state application, which was signed by Catherine McNeil, includes the requirement the system must be constructed in strict accordance with the approved plans and specifications. And then, as you've all seen in Burr's notes, I reviewed the site initially on 5/13/25, and the key takeaway is that the road culvert discharge had been relocated from the middle of the lot to the south side above the Goodines home, and had changed from being spread out to a concentrated discharge. I observed the existing conditions of septic design review that showed a ditch from the culvert to the middle of the lot. This was before construction, where it hooked north across the contours and effectively created a level spreader. I think those are kind of the germane facts. And I'm going to suggest we make a finding that the changes in the discharge of the septic plan, eliminating the stone pit, which was intended to lessen the impact on abutting lots, to a concentrated discharge violated section 4.1.6 of the ordinance as the as-built culvert, and the deviation from the approved plan was no longer designed and built reasonably to prevent increased rate of runoff, soil loss, or erosion, whether one applies the 2015 version or the 2025 version of 4.1.6. Does that make sense to everybody? Would you change it?
Very, very briefly, I'm not sure that we can, I certainly wouldn't feel qualified, and we haven't heard testimony to determine whether or not this alternative, the change, would reasonably accommodate the needs of section 4.1.6.
Which change?
The alteration.
Not doing the pit.
Of not doing a pit?
So I don't think we need to make that finding. I think that if you take it step by step, the building permit attached the septic plan. The McNeils signed the building permit application certifying that the work, including the culvert and the pit, would be accomplished in accordance, I'm quoting, in accordance with the information submitted. And obviously, that did not occur.
Well, I think they also signed the septic plan where they made essentially the same promise.
I agree, but my point is, that's where I think that the inquiry needs to end. I don't think we need to, nor should we, determine whether or not the changed direction and the termination of the culvert at the property line is or is not reasonable. I don't think we have to make that finding, frankly.
I think you have to make a connection to what part of the zoning ordinance was violated. And really the only hook that we had to hang on to was that 4.1.6. And I think I'm saying that the failure to put in the stone pit, which in the plan was intended to, was stated in the plan to collect the discharge, to mitigate what, not paraphrasing, mitigate what might affect other lots. That was in the plan. The McNeils, or really their contractor, removed that. That, to me, is sufficient to say that they violated the zoning ordinance.
Well, no, I agree. I think that we have to assume as correct that the approved site plan complied with section 4.1.6. We haven't heard any evidence to the contrary, that the way it was designed would have accomplished the needs of section 4.1.6. And I also don't think that substantively, and I think council agrees with it, that there's really no substantive difference between the old
Yeah.
4.1.6 and the new one, other than there's some additional administrative requirements. But in terms of the opening sentence, beginning any site disturbance and so on, it's the same language in the old and the new. So I think that's where the inquiry, based upon the evidence presented, that's where the inquiry ends. We have not heard any evidence that the changed or the alteration of this culvert and the absence of the pit would in fact comply with section 4.1.6. We heard no evidence of that.
And I don't think we do. I don't think we need to. I think the fact that the pit was omitted from the plan is.
Which was reasonable effort to mitigate.
Yeah, which was
Well, that's-
intending to mitigate.
We have to assume that plan, the stamped plan by a licensed professional, was going to comply and do what the performance specification in section 4.1.6.
I think Burr signed off on it, and he's aware of that.
So we have to assume that. We've heard no evidence to
So
the contrary.
I'm assuming that,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, and so I think that, and I've heard no evidence to say that the altered design, the unapproved altered design, would have complied with section 4.1.6. We haven't heard any evidence to that.
That's not what he's saying.
No, I'm not
Well,
saying,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
No, he's not saying it would have complied.
I'm saying the fact that they removed the pit is sufficient.
Right, yeah, but I think you had language in your text about whether or not the alternate design, quoting from the section, performed reasonably to prevent the increased rate of runoff.
If I did, I did not intend.
That's
Okay.
fine. Then I think we're maybe approaching it from a different angle, but
Okay.
I agree with you.
Can I have a vote on that finding? I move that we make that finding.
Second.
Okay, 4-0, okay. Then,
I don't know if you need a voice vote, but aye.
no, I saw your hand. Now, I guess so we're affirming the select board's, we're approving, we are affirming that this is a violation of the zoning ordinance. Do we want to make any comment or findings about the notice the town sent?
I don't think so.
And I'm thinking specifically about the adequacy of informing the McNeils what they did wrong.
Well, look, we are aware of
This is Swayze, of course.
the Swansea case, and from what we do have in the record in this case, it does not appear that notice complied with Swansea, at least insofar as it relates to the assessment of a fine. I don't think the underlying findings that they've made and that we've affirmed
Yeah,
are affected by that, just the fine.
yes, I think so.
Let me just
Go ahead.
ask, we're dealing with the same ordinance that we dealt with the last
We are.
appeal that we had. Well, if I don't know what written notice was given, I don't,
All we have, the only written notice in the record is the letter that the select board sent on
Sure, I got it here.
August 12th, 2025. And they simply said, you're in violation of the zoning ordinance, section 6, site disturbance, with nothing else, really.
did they need to say something else?
Well, I would argue that,
Well, I mean, what does the case law that,
the case law
Peter is-
says that they should, that there's adequate notice that is reasonably calculated to give the defendant actual notice of the issue at hand. And my view is
did
that,
they say anything about the water running off the property?
well, first, I don't think that, they're not in the letter, no.
They didn't.
They did, and they said nothing about the failure to build a pit or anything else. They just said you violated the ordinance, and they listed the entire section 6. And
This is the notice right here.
Does
That
it,
was issued by the town.
it doesn't tell them anything specific.
no.
Okay.
I personally would, no, certainly they could have called the town or Burr or somebody, and maybe they did, but
Well, I think they knew pretty quickly, but if the ordinance says they have to have written notice and it has to give them enough specifics so that they understand, then I guess they didn't do that. But of course, once they get those specifics in writing, I guess they'd be subject to a $550 per day
no,
penalty.
I think this is
if
still the
town
first
wanted to
offense.
assess it.
I think this is still
Doesn't it
275.
say every day that
Right.
it continues?
The
But it
state
does
law,
once the notice has been properly given.
That's what I'm saying. So if they got a proper notice, then it would
But
be,
no,
if the
but-
town wished to assess that,
if the town,
which I don't think they do.
if the select board wishes, they could charge $275 or $250 a day for every day that the ordinance is being violated.
It's
I
more
doubt
than
that they
$250
would
a
do
day.
that,
I don't think they would.
and in this case, they just assessed a single $250 or $75 fine.
So maybe that was a good thing.
So, yeah, but, yeah, I think, you know, honestly, I think the select board needs to be aware that they need to have a little bit more,
They should have an attorney sitting with them to say, wait a minute, let's check this ordinance.
well, or at least not, at least give some more information in the letter about what you did wrong.
They'd have to know the ordinance. I agree, but they'd have to know the ordinance.
Well, they had, you know, or they have Bert and Kevin working for them.
Is Burr familiar with the ordinance that talks about fines and what you, and he's shaking his head, no.
No, she's not, but.
Kevin, are you familiar, Kevin? Do you know that ordinance? About fines and what you have to do to notify a person and how the fine runs and?
Somebody,
I know a little bit about it, but usually we ask town council about it.
but somebody needs to know that.
Well,
I understand,
Yeah.
I
I
understand.
think so everybody understands that it's not an ordinance, a state statute. It's,
That's right.
it is
I said-
676:17, and it says that somebody shall be subject to a civil penalty of $275 for the first offense, and $550 for a subsequent offense for each day that the violation is found to continue after the conviction date or after the date on which the violator receives written notice. Because there are criminal penalties that are
Written notice.
right. So in other words, that's the
And
written.
you've got a case that says, well, but the written notice has to say this, this, and this.
Right, and then that provides the notice, and it's essentially a show cause notice, and you've got the notice, then the day after that, we can start assessing the
Yeah,
violation, the fine.
And in a perfect world, the select board would say, hey, you violated this. You've got 30 days to come up with a plan, and
30 days.
to come up with a plan, and then, you know, so much time to implement the plan. But if you don't do that, if you don't come up with a plan, we'll fine you.
That's not what the ordinance says.
No, well, you're right, I know you. So, I mean, I basically am suggesting that we
That's it, the RSA.
negate the,
ordinance.
or avoid the violation notice, both because it's not adequately descriptive. But first, we found that they did violate the zoning ordinance. But as with Black Mountain, I'm suggesting that the notice was inadequate to reasonably inform the McNeils or their attorney
What the problem was.
what the problem was. And then second, I'm suggesting that even if the notice was adequate, you can't send the notice and include in that the fine. You have to give notice and then assess the fine if the violation continues.
Well, I don't know. I think you could say in the notice that if you don't cure this violation, as
Yes.
of this date, you're gonna have a
Yeah,
$270.
they could, I think that would be reasonable too, I
I don't
think.
think
I
you
don't
have to
know.
mail 2 letters.
You, well. So,
I don't.
so
I don't-
do we want to go here with this or not?
I think so. I think we can call the question.
Okay. Huntley?
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think we have 2 motions then. One, a motion to find that the violation notice sent to the McNeils was not adequate was inadequate in describing the particular violation, or basically what they did to cause a violation of 4.1.6 of the zoning ordinance. And I think, as I said at the beginning, that was largely the change in the discharge from the culvert, not in accordance with the septic plan. Are we okay?
Well, they didn't build their
Yeah.
septic plan, and that resulted in discharge of water from the premises, and there'd been nothing done to mitigate.
Yeah, and I'm not going to what was the impact physical impact of not putting that pit in. It may have helped, it may have not helped. The point is, they didn't put it in, and didn't seek to change the plan.
What you're asking us to vote on is whether or not the town complied with the Swansea case,
Yes,
as well as 676,
yeah, so there's 2 things. One,
:17.
so one, the letter should be voided because it doesn't adequately describe the violation. And then number 2, the fine should be voided because it was not levied after providing written notice.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
So,
I don't think we ought to be mentioning the Swansea case,
why not?
because the selectmen don't know anything about the Swansea case. How could we expect them?
They certainly do after our ruling in the prior case.
That was part
They
of
know
it.
about it if they read it, if they,
Well,
they're doing other things.
Let's have the
But
vote.
we can say that, yes.
Well, you can help write the decision.
No, I don't want to write the decision. You write the
Okay.
decision, or Peter can write the
Okay.
decision.
All in favor of that 2-part finding,
Aye.
decision? Raise your hand.
All right.
4-0. Okay. And I'll leave it at that. So, we have denied the appeal and found that the zoning ordinance was violated. we have, at the same time, found that the notice of the violation was insufficient. And the fine is also appointed.
Thank you.
This, not done yet. The select board, or any abutter, including Ms. Goodine on the Zoom here. And by the way, I'm sorry I didn't turn this around while we're talking, Jane.
It's okay.
But you heard us, I hope.
Heard most of it.
Have 30 days to move for rehearing. So this is not final for 30 days. And
But check the statute, because we're not giving any legal advice.
yes. And there's something else I want to say. Oh, and we're obviously not making any finding or determination about what may have caused the issues on the Goodine property, or what might have happened had the pit been built. We're just saying the pit wasn't built and that's the violation, that's enough. I'll also say that there is a violation and there's nothing, you know, at some point, the selectmen can reimpose the fine, if they wish, or do anything else they wish. It's just, for now, because the letter didn't properly explain the violation, that it's in abeyance. Personally, I'd recommend that you talk to the town or find a solution to remediate this, but
We are,
I'm trying to do.
you're trying to, obviously.
we're willing to meet tomorrow.
Well,
Time-
you're speaking to the wrong people.
I know that, but they're the right people.
They are, well, they're still in the room.
Yeah, and they ain't leaving until we talk to them.
Wait till after the meeting.
Yeah,
So-
no, we're gonna,
Okay.
we're solving this problem.
So unless there's any questions, I'm going to call the hearing, I'm going to close the hearing and meeting.
Thank you all.
Good
Thank
luck. Thank you.
You gotta go talk to those guys. Can you do that? Can you talk to those guys and set that up? Thank you.
Yep. Pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Counselor, would you like your binder back?
Sure.
I've got enough paper.
Enough binders.
Yeah, you can.
And I got enough binders.
Where did you?
It's an impressive
Well,
presentation.
we tried. But,
Thanks, Frank, for setting up the Zoom.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope it worked well enough.
It worked well enough.
Good.
Did I practice? I'm still practicing.
Okay.
I heard most of it.
No, my office
Good
is
enough.
long.
Thank you.
Downtown, yeah.
what kind of stuff do you do?
Trial, but construction and real estate. I don't know, I haven't been.
Surely, she wants.
Oh, all right. How are you, Shirley? Thanks for your presentation.
Something we're gonna.
My take out is really deep
Small.
on the range.
They were subdivided years ago.
Plus there was
There's the links you can do.
Probably carry some of that stuff away.
I've got it.
big enough.
That's okay.
You see it.